Welcome back to First Light, the podcast where we uncover the transformative journeys of leaders, change makers, and visionaries who inspire others to shine their brightest. I'm your host, Chris Keller, and today we have the honor of speaking with an extraordinary attorney, leader, and advocate, John Richmond. John is the co-founder and CEO of Richmond Vona, LLC, a top-tier personal injury law firm based in Buffalo, New York. With over 15 years of experience and more than $175 million secured in settlements and verdicts, John has built his career around helping people through their most challenging moments. His firm has also earned accolades from Inc. magazine for its exceptional growth and workplace culture. In today's episode, we're going to dive deep into John's personal journey, the story behind Richmond Vona, and how he's been able to achieve success while maintaining a strong commitment to his clients and team. John, I want to welcome you to First Light, and thank you so much for agreeing to be a guest. For those of the listeners who may not know you, can you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about how you got into the practice of law?
Sure. So first off, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. I'm John Richmond. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Richmond Vona, personal injury and mesothelioma firm, headquartered in Buffalo, New York, but proudly helping people who've been injured throughout the state of New York. And I guess my law journey goes back. I've been practicing for about 15 years now, but I kind of traced my roots maybe back to when I was in college, before even going to law school. I was a Division I hockey player. I was a goaltender. Always really liked the idea of operating under pressure, and more so knowing that my teammates could rely on me and trying to be there for them as sort of like the last line of defense. And through kind of like that mentality and having some older mentors who are attorneys, I decided to get into the practice of law. Obviously, went to law school. I ended up at a really big mass torts firm in New York City, where I solely represented people who were diagnosed with mesothelioma or lung cancer as a result of being exposed to asbestos, and then ended up migrating up here to Western New York, originally from Rochester, about an hour down the road. But now I'm up here in Buffalo, and came up here knowing that I wanted to start a firm, but started at another local toxic mass tort firm for a little bit. And then ended up starting my firm with my business partner, Keith Vona, back in December of 2019. So we just passed the 5-year mark, and I guess we're off to the races, so to speak.
Awesome. Anyway, one thing I loved about you is that we share this kind of similar journey, except for the hockey. I'm sure it's much warmer down here in South Florida than Buffalo right now as well. But so talk about those that competitive nature of playing hockey and how that kind of translated to the practice of law or being a business owner and entrepreneur.
Yeah, look, I'll say this. It's funny. It's like I hear people like John Morgan and a lot of other entrepreneur or law firm owners I really respect talk about how that entrepreneurial spirit is oftentimes, comes out in people when they're young. They have paper routes or lemonade stands or what have you. Honestly, I didn't have that. I was so entrenched in hockey. It's all I really did. I lived and breathed it my entire life. Always played at the highest level. And for all those hockey parents out there, hats off to you. I now have a great appreciation for what my parents did for me. A lot of long weekends in cold rinks. And I think the one thing though is my dad was an entrepreneur, and he owns a small masonry company. He's 70 years old, still works every day. I have a tremendous amount of respect and love for him, of course. He's a great role model. But I kind of think that that entrepreneurial spirit was sort of subdued in me because I was so focused on hockey. But what I didn't realize, and that I realize now about hockey, was I didn't realize all the lessons it was teaching me. About how to really prepare. How to operate under pressure. When those moments get big, how do you make them almost seem small? How do you stay focused? And again, like I said earlier, it's really important for me that our clients, my team, my friends, my family, that they know that I'm somebody, or my team, someone that they can truly rely on, that they can call on, when times are tough. And through learning all those lessons, and again, really about preparation and understanding how much details matter, and the more you can control, the more prepared you are for that which is uncontrollable. And as I got into the practice of law, I started realizing that I had a certain way that I wanted to approach the practice. I had some what I thought were good ideas about how I believe a culture should be run. And really, I take a lot of that from hockey, like the locker room culture where everybody plays a part. Everybody's rowing in the same direction, and you can talk to people on winning teams at even the highest level, and it's typically the teams that are really close, that stick together, and that are working in unison, that have the best results. So, um, I'm obviously fully embracing the entrepreneurial spirit now. I love my firm. I love what we're building, but definitely a lot of it I trace back to my upbringing, and especially my time playing hockey.
Let's talk about the early challenges because with any business, whether it's a law firm or a masonry company, regardless, there's always going to be some challenges in the beginning. So Can you talk about some of the early challenges when you co-founded Richmond Vona? I know obviously probably a big leap for you going from mass torts and toxic torts to your own firm. So kind of talk about those early challenges and how you've overcome some of those challenges.
Yeah, I think that no matter how much you try to prepare to go out on your own, you really have no idea, what you're stepping into. We started our firm during COVID, which kind of weirdly ended up being a silver lining, or almost a good thing for us, because it allowed us to really focus on systems, on processes, on really trying to do things the right way at a small scale. But as you're trying to build something and scale up, it becomes incredibly difficult. Like, not understanding how to scale, having no real brand recognition, and the difficulties with hiring, having a really small marketing budget, which you realize very quickly makes zero impact against your big competitors. I mean, it's kind of like, the clashing of all these worlds, or all these issues come together, and you really gotta spend some time to go out there into the world, and talk to others, talk to law firm owners, get a coach to help navigate through those issues, and to honestly ensure that that you're not alone, right? And we live in a beautiful age. I talk to older attorneys all the time, older law firm owners, and I say, hey, look, like, I give you so much credit because you navigated all these challenges, all these issues, when a lot of them before the internet, or when the internet was just going, or long before coaching groups like Crisp or these other great groups out there. Um, but now we have the or at least I think I'm lucky, right? I'm able to go out into these coaching groups, ask questions about early issues with scaling, or how to build systems and processes. What's a KPI? Why does it matter? How can you stand out with your marketing when your budget just pales in comparison, isn't even the right term, to some of the bigger, kind of establishments that have been there forever. And I just think at the end of the day, it's really important to be vulnerable, and to be honest about what you don't know, and ask for help. And I think that's one of the reasons why we've had some early success, and that we hope to continue on, is because we know we're not the smartest people in the world. So we go and we talk to others, and we're vulnerable about our issues, especially the ones that we have today. Because at every level, right, there's new challenges that present themselves. Some that maybe you could foresee, and some that you couldn't. So I think at the end of the day, really, what's helped us is, again, surrounding myself with people like yourself and other great law firm owners, having a coach, and helping to navigate those issues.
You touched on so many things there. I want to break down. First and foremost, let's talk about workplace culture because I know you've gained some recognition for your growth in workplace culture, and I know from talking to you some of the cool things that your firm does to really recognize and reward your employees. So, what do you attribute that success to, and what are the things that you really do to for your workplace culture and your team building?
Sure. So, for us, we think everything starts with culture. One of our goals, or part of our mission, is to deliver the ultimate client experience for our clients. So you can't do that without the best people, in the best culture. So from day one, anytime we can, we focus way more on hiring people who align with our core values, and who believe in our mission and our vision, as opposed to just hiring people who have experience. Obviously, sometimes you need to hire people with experience, and you have to really make sure that not only do they have the experience, but that these are people who are, again, aligned with your core values. And sometimes it can be tough, but you got to do it. And it starts with the people, right? And it starts with people who are willing to embrace change, because lots of times people, most of us, right, you walk into work for a law firm or another company, you don't see, you weren't there, you didn't see what happened in the first 5, 10, 15, maybe 20 years of building that company, how difficult it was, how many changes had to be made. you got to make sure you have the right people who really believe in the mission and are resilient. And you really need to understand your people, right? To really understand what makes them tick. What motivates me may not motivate this person or that person. So, through things that we've learned through coaching programs, like using celebration surveys to understand, what really people like, what motivates them, what they care about, using Bonusly so that they're rewarding each other for living our core values, adopting flex work schedules, some remote work, monthly team building activities, really rewarding the team for going above and beyond. I think it's just something that it's a living, breathing thing. Culture is. You have to constantly reevaluate it, especially as you grow, because it will change. And look, you have to be really steadfast in your approach to it and in upholding it, right? I mean, you have to really ensure that everyone is on board and everybody's in line with your values. And if they're not, sometimes you have to make some tough decisions. But at the end of the day, I truly believe we are nothing without our team. I mean, we can't do anything. We think we have the best team in our market. We love our team, and we're really proud of all the work they do. So we're constantly searching for ways to make their lives better or give them the tools for success.
Let's talk about recruitment and retention because that's such a big deal. And when you're building a team like a hockey team, as you know, or filling these different roles or key roles, how does your firm approach recruiting and retention of employees?
Yeah. So obviously recruiting, hiring is huge. It's massive. Retention is huge. Turnover is extremely expensive. And it just sucks, right? You don't want people to leave. You want good people to stay. So, for us, again, it starts with, having that hiring funnel that we've learned from others, ensuring that we stick to it, that we're using any assessment we can, or going outside to make sure that we're finding ways to measure who these people are and what they care about, and make sure they're in line with our values and our mission. And then once they get in the door, it's taking onboarding really seriously. I think we've maybe all been at places where you start on your first day, they see you at a desk and they say, "Hey, figure it out," or someone will be over to talk to you momentarily. I mean, you got to set people up for success. And if you want them, to be in line with your values and your goals, they need to understand, how you do things and why you do things, right? You don't want to just tell people to do something. You want to say, hey, this is why, and you want their input. And I think that's something we've really learned, and that I hope is part of the reason that we've been able to retain such great people is we really involve people in all of our decisions. Now, look, at the end of the day, we're going to make the decisions and we're going to decide what we believe is best for the firm. But we're not just going to roll out new policies and procedures without bringing in different groups of people at different times to get their opinions, get their buy-in, right? They're on the front lines. Let's figure out what they're seeing, and make sure that they have multiple, different ways of getting us feedback, whether it's anonymously, it's in their monthly one-on-ones with their managers, their reviews, whatever it is. Let's make sure that we have really high communication internally, that everybody feels valued and seen, and everyone understands that they're truly, truly important, and that we can't do this without them. And I think that, again, also reading the room, right? Understanding how your team's doing at having any given time, knowing when to push, knowing when to pull back, rewarding them for doing great work. I think there's a lot that goes into it. It's a long-winded answer, but I think at the end of the day, it's like you got to listen to your team. You got to get their feedback. What's the point of having all these smart, great people at your business or at your firm if you're not going to listen to them and allow them to help you, grow your business?
And so much when you become the CEO and you're a founder, you're looked at as a leader. So talk about kind of your philosophy when it comes to leading and inspiring a team, because a lot of it really the team kind of rises and falls with you.
Yeah, definitely does. And I think it's important to understand that you have to lead by example. Everyone's looking at you, your reputation, both in and outside the firm, your willingness to work hard, to do any job that anybody else is doing, right? There's nothing here. It's a cliche saying, but it's true. There's nothing here that I would ask somebody to do that I wouldn't do myself. You know, it's funny, like I take great pride, and we have a little it's almost like a game. It's a schedule for who emptied or loaded the dishwasher. And I try to keep up with people. Like I want them to see that like I'm doing it too, right? I'm not above that. I'm not leaving my dishes in the sink so somebody else can clean up after me. Um, but look, you got to get the buy-in, right? You want them to see that you're making good decisions and that when you make a mistake, because you're human, that you're willing to pivot, you're willing to listen. And I think you just have to be humble. Again, lead by example, be fearless for them, but always be there for them and let them know that you really do want to listen to them. You want to hear about their opinions and their feedback and ways in which they think the firm could be better, how we could better help our clients. And, the last thing I'll say is, someone told me before we started the firm, it was really great advice. They're like, look, when you walk into that office every day, your mood is going to dictate the mood in the building. So if you're upset about something at home, if you're frustrated and you're wearing that on your sleeve, you can make people nervous or maybe they get stressed out. Like, why is he stressed out? Right. There's like SWAT teams and, they have something called 3 minutes out, I've heard. And, basically you can do whatever you want, but 3 minutes before you enter, you pull up to that site, it's like game face on, like, let's leave everything, all our baggage at the door. Let's go do a job. So I try to do that every day. Look, I'm not perfect. I have good days and bad days, but I just think it's really important to lead by example and to listen.
Let's talk about that because obviously you know a lot about my journey and how really I transformed myself as a leader, adopting the miracle morning, getting up early and starting my day with intention has really kind of changed things. So, what do you do as a business owner to show up every day for your team to make sure that you're showing up as the best version of yourself to lead your team?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I obviously have a tremendous amount of respect for what you've done and your willingness to share everything. I think it's really important. For me, I've always been a very disciplined, regimented person because it works for me. So I'm up every day at 5 a.m. I have my morning routine, my workout routine. I like to spend a little bit of time, with my fiance and our dogs in the morning, even if it's just for a little bit. It's like centering yourself and putting things into perspective. But that morning time when it's quiet, when it's dark, when most people are sleeping, you can really think through problems, center yourself, avoid overreacting to emails or whatever it is. And then go into the office fresh, right? Get in there, ready to attack the day, go at it 100% until you leave. And then, being healthy and taking care of yourself at night, like, I mean, during the day too, I mean, you got to eat healthy, got to take care of yourself. You got to really limit alcohol consumption or whatever else your vice is. I mean, you really need to get to bed early because you got to show up for your team, right? You're worthless. And we all know that feeling where you go into office and you're dragging all day and you're tired and you can't think straight. You're in a bad mood. I mean, you can't do that. The stakes are higher. I'm not saying we have to be perfect, but you got to strive for excellence every day. You got to get into a routine. You got to take care of yourself because, again, it's like the old adage, right? It's like you can't take care of others if you're not taking care of yourself, right? So I think it's really important to put your best foot forward every day, figure out what works for you, and I do think that discipline is important. I think that sticking to a routine, a schedule would help a lot of people. And once you're in it, and once you form that habit, it's really not hard. It actually becomes impossible to do anything else, right? So I think it's about just getting into it and sticking with it. And like we talked about, we both have coaches, having people you can talk to, even if it's like almost like a therapy session. Taking care of your mental health and we're talking to other law firm owners who are going through the same things as you are, so you don't feel alone. I think the physical, the mental aspect is really important, and you got to show up every day.
Kind of one of the things is kind of being that superhero, which takes me into talking about marketing because I know you guys have these like awesome superhero commercials now, and really as a law firm owner, sometimes you do have to be that superhero for your team and for your clients. And so I love what you guys have done with marketing. Can you talk a little bit about being that superhero for your clients, for your team, how you really have now put that into your marketing and what you guys are doing to stand out in your market?
Yeah. So, well, we realized early on, like, hey, obviously people come to us at the worst time of their lives, and that's something we constantly remind our team. Like, if you have a tough phone call, whatever it is, just remember, like, this person is highly stressed out. They're going through a lot. And honestly, it might be, and oftentimes is the worst time of their life. And we have to go above and beyond for them. and shoulder all that so that they can just focus on getting better and we get to the goal line together. And with marketing, we've always been highly committed to it out the gate. One of the reasons we've grown so rapidly is just, again, it's a testament to my partner, or our, I guess our joint venture, and just being committed to constantly finding new creative ways to market. Because, like we were talking about earlier, I mean, we're in Buffalo, New York, but we have some of the biggest players in the state up here, and they're throughout the state, but they're headquartered up here. They've been around a long time, right? And it takes a long time to build that brand recognition. So for us, we shouldn't be trying to do the same things they are. So we tried some things that worked okay, and it was kind of similar to what other people were doing. We said, how do we break the mold? So said, okay, like, I mean, who's our target demographic, or who do we really want to help? And what do we think separates us? And we really believe at the end of the day, it's our team. It's our team's willingness to go above and beyond the high level communication. Obviously, you can get into all things like embracing tech and trial strategies and all that kind of stuff. But really, at the end of the day, it's our people. We think they're superheroes. We think they go above and beyond, helping people, whether it's with their legal issues or non legal issues. They'll do anything, right? So we put our heads together and worked with some amazing people, and we developed an animated commercial because I'd never seen one, at least in our market. So we put a lot of time and money and energy into it. Developed an animated series that we could kind of springboard off of. And we got really creative with how we were marketing. We're not just buying cable broadcast TV. We're into all different types of digital advertising where you can really understand the data, really find your audience. And again, get creative and have fun with it, right? I mean, it's your marketing. I mean, it's your brand. We don't have to be stiff about it. We can have fun, but we want to let people know we're a very serious firm, but we're approachable. We'll go above and beyond for you, and we're creative. And I hope that people, associate creativity with intelligence. And, so far we've had good results, but you never know, right? You always got to pivot, and we're prepared to do so.
Well, I think in a journey, again, as a business owner or a law firm owner, whatever it is that you're doing, there's a certain part of us that have to take a risk, and shooting a commercial like that could come with some risks. So, talk about kind of evaluating the risks, and the risks that sometimes you have to take as an entrepreneur and putting yourself out there.
100%. I mean, look, it's being an entrepreneur is not for the faint of heart. That's for sure. We have a saying around here. Sometimes you got to be willing to ride the lightning or ride a little close to the sun, right? To thread the needle, and do what you got to do to where you want to go. Obviously, you got to be safe. You got a lot of people who are relying on you, whether that's your team members or your clients. So you have to keep them in the forefront of your mind, but you got to take calculated risks. And when I look back on our journey, whether it's with marketing, growth, anything, I mean, there's so many calculated risks we've taken that if we did not take them, we wouldn't be here. So we're always thinking about, obviously, we're evaluating the risk versus the reward. We're never going to do something that if it doesn't work out, we're toast, or we're going to let all these people down that have put their trust in us. We wouldn't do that. Well, we take the calculated risks and we think it's worth it. And with marketing, I think anything in marketing is a risk, right? I think it's a bigger risk to do the same thing everyone else is doing, right? I mean, at the end of the day, we're all fighting, for market share. And there's only so much to go around. I mean, luckily for society, there's only so many accidents a year, only so many injuries a year. We don't want anyone to get hurt, but we know it's going to happen, and we want them to remember us. Because as you know better than anybody, I think there's a saying, like 97% of the time, no one's looking for a personal injury lawyer. So it's not like we can, convince people to want us now for the most part. It's only like that 3% are actually looking that you want to convince, like, hey, we think we're the best option for you. But for the rest of people, you got to stay top of mind. And for us, it's, you got to roll the dice a little bit. And, look, you can evaluate things and say, hey, you know, what happens? What's the worst that happens with this? Are you just going to blow up on our face? Are people going to hate us? Or are people just going to say, yeah, that is what it is? But, Chris, that's one of the great things with digital marketing, right? You can A/B split test anything, right? You could run an animated commercial next to a commercial of you, sitting in an office writing on a piece of paper. Like, I mean, figure out what works best for you, take the risks that are appropriate for you and your firm. But I think the biggest thing is just remember that you have a lot of people put their trust in you. They're putting their kids through college. They're raising their kids off of, their salaries with you. So be careful. but be calculated, and you got to go for it.
Well, so I was fortunate enough to get to watch you speak and listen to you speak on data and knowing your data, and I'm guessing that was something that you've learned over the years. So talk about being data driven and really knowing that A B split testing and all those things that I'm still learning at a high
Oh
level. But I know I got to listen to you talk about it at a high level. So talk a little bit about how important data is to your firm and knowing your data to be able to take those calculated risks.
yeah. Well, first off, look, I mean, it's cliche. Everyone's saying now data, 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 but it's true. Now, I will say this before I jump down the data rabbit hole. It's, in my opinion, it's very, very important to not forget about the human element when you're making decisions. If you're purely focused on data, you could get yourself into a lot of trouble. You do have to remember about the human element, whether it's if you're evaluating a team member or team members based on data, you got to understand that there's outliers and there's human things that go into it. I mean, so you got to be careful. But whether it's internally at our firm, like measuring success through data or measuring marketing success through data, I think it's crucial. You have to be set up because, oftentimes, like I said, got to watch out for the human element, but oftentimes the data doesn't lie. So, with our firm, we're open about it. I mean, we adopted Litify early. We spent a lot of money on tech development through Litify. So now we have tons of automations and tons of reporting and dashboards and all this kind of stuff to not micromanage our people, but to help them provide a higher level of service and help them make better decisions, help give them visibility into their cases, into how they can work certain cases better or make better decisions on cases, all supported by data. And it really helps, get the buy-in. And then with marketing, I mean, look, if you have all the money in the world and you just want to throw up tons and tons of billboards and run SEO and run Google paid ads and TV and whatever, I mean, that's great. But, for us, we need to get really tactical. And, there's no better way to do that. And again, to mitigate risk than to do it through digital. So, if you're worried about a certain type of ad or you're curious if a type of ad is going to work, you can split test it, whether it's on, Meta ads or Google ads or whatever you want to do. You can run the same ads 10 different ways with slightly different photos or slightly different, copy. I mean, whatever you want to do and figure out what's working best and then double down on it until it doesn't work anymore. Same with if you're thinking about going into out of home and, throwing up some billboards or whatever, why not test it out first on social? See kind of what works the best, and you'll feel a lot better about what you're throwing up there because yeah, you could take it down, but it's cost, right? I think that is huge. I think, look, I've learned everything I know right now, which is just kind of scratching the surface from working with great partners. So I think it is really, really important to have an amazing digital partner. We've been through a lot and we finally found one that we love. So really working with them to understand and asking a lot of questions. And I think you'll find that they love when the CEO or the law firm owner is really curious and asks those questions. So, you got to be curious. You got to admit what it is that you don't know and constantly try to get better every day. But yeah, data's great, but be careful and balance of the human element.
So that is, one thing about data that I enjoy so much is that you can set goals based on data because now you have the actual numbers. You're not going on a guess or your speculations or your assumptions. You could actually base on real numbers. So talk about kind of goal setting and more importantly, what are your goals for your firm? Where do you see your firm in the next 5 years? What kind of legacy are you hoping to leave?
Sure. So when it comes to goal setting, I'll just give you like a general approach to how we do it every year. So for the first 5 years, we were like bat out of hell, grow as quickly as humanly possible. Um, that was always the plan. And now we want to maintain aggressive yet a little more steady growth year over year, right? And the way we do that is, looking through our data and working with our lawyers who run their individual teams or pods, however you want to look at it. We start with litigation, we start with them. And honestly, we use the data to empower them and say, look, here's our goal for you for the year. Would say maybe it's like, hey, we want you to try to do this in net attorney's fees this year. let's go through your data. This is why we believe you can do it. Empower them. Look at what you have. Look at what you've built up. We know you can do this. And here's a guidepost, right? Like, hey, if you do this many settlements, which averages out at this many per month or whatever, you'll probably get to where you need to be. But obviously, at the end of the day, we care more about, the results for the clients and the attorney's fees at the end of the day, right? That's a beautiful thing. The more the money the clients make, the more we do. Um, but then you need to be setting these same goals, with operations or marketing. What are our goals this year? How do we use data to track that, to adjust in real time? Again, going back to with digital advertising, it allows you to really be nimble, like on a monthly basis, and make, hey, maybe we want to get the brand out more in these 2 months because it's not safe to bring in too many more, cases than what we normally do per month. But now we're trying to build this team because it's part of our goal. So let's increase, intake through this channel at a lowercase acquisition cost and build these teams, like stuff like that. And then when you put it all together, you say, okay, here's our overall goal for the firm this year. Let's empower the firm with the data and show them how we're going to do this together, update them every step of the way so they constantly know where we are. And not for nothing, dangle a nice carrot at the end and reward them highly for when they hit it. And just show them how year over year, look, we're going to do things for you, right? I understand. I tell this to my team, look, I understand you didn't wake up one day and say, I want to start a personal injury law firm and leave a lasting legacy. You didn't, but you, to your credit, are on board and you believe in our mission and vision. So my promise to you is if you help us grow and you help us realize our dream, we'll help you realize your dreams, whether they're personally or professionally. Like that's our promise to them. Because at the end of the day, we want to build a national powerhouse that just happens to be located in Buffalo, New York. We want to show people like, hey, you don't need like the New York City address to be a nationally renowned trial firm that is known for going above and beyond for its clients, who doesn't take shortcuts, who doesn't just, take quick settlements to keep people out the door. We are in it for the right reasons. We have the best firm culture, best client results in the field of personal injury. And that's something we're committed to. I want someday to build this pie big enough to bring in other people, give them slices of the pie, and hopefully long after I'm dead, this firm is still rocking with new people, I guess steering the ship.
When you talk about the kind of vision, that long term goal, I mean, was that something that you went into, or is that something you've refined over the years of what your vision is and core values?
So, I mean, we definitely always had like this. I'll say this: when we started off, our vision, I'll call, was blurry. Like we knew we wanted to be the best. We're highly competitive. I'm a former hockey player, like I said. Keith is a former Marine, former police officer. Like we are very former triathlete. We are very, very competitive people, but we want to do so in a team environment. So, but we realized pretty quickly, it's like you got to really, really clarify, what your vision is, what your mission is, and what your values are. And your values may not always stay the same. Your vision may change. Your mission may get tweaked. So it's something that you have to constantly evaluate. So although we always kind of like knew where we wanted to go, we really forced ourselves to sit down a couple years in, or maybe a year and a half into the firm, roll out our values. We spent a lot of time with our very small team at that time developing these values, our mission, our vision. And then we went back to them now that, we're about 40 people about a year ago, redefine the values. Certain ones remained, other ones dropped off. Doesn't mean they're not important. It just means maybe we thought they should go without saying. And, you know, reevaluating our vision, our mission, and making sure that everybody understands it. It's not just writing on the wall. It's this. This is what it means for our clients, and this is what it means for you if we can achieve this. And so, it's something that's fluid, just like culture. You have to constantly reassess it and make sure that it's right for you in the moment, but also, keep finding ways to get to where you want to go.
Anybody who is, has been on a similar path to you or similar career path as you, who's thinking about kind of doing the same thing, starting a firm, um, what's the best piece of advice you'd give them?
I would say first and foremost, think long and hard about why you want to do it. If you if you're purely money motivated, I would tell you to proceed with caution. Look, you can definitely, if you do things the right way, have a really great life. And obviously, we've all seen people who are extremely wealthy as a result of starting a personal injury law firm or different type of business. But I think that you really have to be focused on something more than that. You got to be focused on really wanting to build a team, really wanting to deliver a service or sell a product that you really, really are passionate about, that you believe in. Because entrepreneurship, starting a business, building a business is incredibly difficult. Like it's hard to put into words. I mean, I love the challenge. But like anybody else, trust me, there's days where like I don't regret doing it. I'm like, oh, this is rough, man. Like, this is tough. The pressure is immense. The stress is there. So you got to really, really be, believe in it. And if you don't, I mean, you're not going to want to do it. It's not going to get you through those hard times. The money's not going to do it. And the money might not even be there at times. You got to be really willing to continue to fuel the fire, to put the money back in, to build it to what you want it to be. But just make sure it's something you're really passionate about. Make sure that before you even think about going out there and starting it, that you really spend the time to do your research, to talk to others who have been down that path. I mean, people are really willing to share. I do it all the time. I mean, I just love talking about it, but I think I owe it to pay the favor back to people. So just make sure you kind of figure out as much as you can and know that even with all the information, all the research, having the right mindset, wanting it for the right reasons, it's going to be extremely hard. But if you embrace the challenge and you believe in yourself and you believe in your mission, it's the best decision you're ever going to make.
Yeah, I know. I was just talking to my partner the other day, and then same thing. I said, "Look, I don't think I've ever been as stressed out in my entire life,
Yeah,
or had this much stress. But I've also never been happier in my entire life.
exactly.
I take care of myself and mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, and giving up some financially now in order to grow this firm. But I've never had so much stress. But I've never been so happy, and so excited. But talk about kind of now getting to be up on a stage and sharing that and giving back and how important it is to give back to the profession, and also not to go too far off from that, but how do you give back to your community, and how are you guys community leaders, and with all that you're doing at your firm?
Sure. So yeah, look, I mean, it's basic. I mean, look, you got to give back. I mean, one, I love talking about this stuff. I love talking to you. I love talking to our other law firm members in our coaching group. Like, I love it. I'm passionate about it. But look, I was fortunate that I had some people who took the time to talk to me, whether I was a young lawyer trying to figure out how to try cases or looking to start the firm or start the business or whatever. I mean, people took the time, right, to help. And people, for some people, it can be therapeutic. Talking to you about their successes and even more so their failures. So whether it's being asked to speak, on a stage at a conference or just having a conversation with somebody who's thinking about starting their own business, you're getting my full and undivided attention. I will help you any way I can. I will explain all my failures, all the things I did that lost us money, the things that worked well, how if I could redo it, how I would do it. I think it's really important. And it's important to give back, right? And you mentioned community. I mean, giving back to community is huge. Where it's one of the things we look for in team members here are people who want to give back. We pay close attention to what our team members care about, the causes that are important to them. And we have a program called Monthly Acts of Kindness. Literally, just an hour before I jumped on with you, I was in our conference room. We were making blankets for people who need them, or the homeless population here in Buffalo. Obviously, gets really cold here, so making blankets. We support the veterans. Whatever it is, we're out there once a month, either during business hours or after business hours. It doesn't matter. Our team members actually can earn PTO for going out and doing this, and we support as many causes as we can. Whatever is important to our team members, important to our community. We want to be known as constantly giving back. We're not just blood sucking personal injury attorneys. We are people who actually care about helping the community. And look, it's such a great thing to do. I mean, we're very fortunate, or I count myself to be very fortunate to, I've had the upbringing that I did and been given the opportunities that I have. You can't take that for granted. So many people didn't have that. So we want to give back any way we can. And we want to constantly work to make the community a better and a safer place. And we want people on board who believe in that mission.
Wow, it's just let people know how they can find your amazing marketing so they can see all the cool things that you're doing. What's the best way to find you guys and to get in touch with you if they need to?
Sure. So you can follow us online, where our website is www.richmondvona.com. You can find us, Richmond Vona, on YouTube. We have a lot of video content. And look, I'm always open to talk to anybody. I'm John Richmond on LinkedIn. You'll see me. I'll be happy to connect with you and share some ideas or help any way I can.
Thank you, John. I appreciate your time today and for sharing all the things that are making Richmond Vona so successful.
Thank you.
John, thank you so much for sharing your journey with us today. Your story is a testament to the power of dedication, leadership, and a heart for helping others. Thank you for joining us on First Light, where we continue to uncover stories of those who inspire transformation and growth. And as always, keep shining your light.